Welcome to the Kathleen Spracklin podcast. I am a woman on a mission to give you a Zettelkasten that functions on your work table in the fewest number of steps, because this is the Minimalist series where we are cutting it down to the essentials to get you a functioning Zettelkasten. Well, this is a question video, and it comes from Judy. Judy asks a simple question: do I need to make a foundation card for every book that I read? There's a very simple answer to that question, and the answer is no. But if the answer is no, then you have an immediate follow-on question. Well, then when do I need to make one, and when don't I? Because just saying no, not always, doesn't give much information. So we're going to take an example and carry it right through so you can see when you might need to make a foundation card and when you could get away without one. So head on over to the down-facing camera with me and I'll show you what I mean. Let's start with what you do need to do for every new book you read. For example, this book, The Character of Physical Law by Richard Feynman. I will want to make a bib card for every new book. Now let's make a quick review of what goes into a bib card. The front side of the bib card gets some information about the book, and the back side of the bib card gets the notes that we take on the book. So for this book, The Character of Physical Law by Richard Feynman, the front of the book would get the name of the book, who it's by, our purpose for reading the book, and a nickname that we would give the book. Those are the steps that go on the front of the card. The book title, The Character of Physical Law, who the book is by, our purpose for reading the book, and I supplied as a purpose, I love quotes from Feynman. I wonder what he can teach me about physics. And the last thing we need is a nickname for the bib card, and I use a rule of thumb for creating that. I use the initials of the author and the characters of the key words in the title. So I have Richard Feynman, Character of Physical Law is my nickname. Then on the back of the bib card, I make notes as I read the book. My notes usually include the page number, where I got the information, and the information that I got from the book. Now usually I would make a number of notes before I made a main card, but in the interest of efficiency, I'll just go with this one note. So now the next thing I need to do with this note that I made is turn it into a main card. Of course, main cards will go into our main box, and we have some rules for creating main cards, sort of a checklist. Okay, following that checklist, I would include the thought or idea from the book, which in this case is physical laws are rhythms and patterns of nature, not visible to the eye. The next thing I need to include is my thought or reaction, which I supplied. We see sunrise and sunset, but it's not apparent to the eye how the times and the locations of sunrise and sunset changes with the seasons. The next thing I need to include is my bib card nickname, and I put that at the bottom of the card. And I also include the page number because I usually want to know a little more than just the name of the book. It's helpful if I can find the right page as well. And the final thing I need to add to this card is a tagline at the top that will bring back the whole card. So my tagline is, physical laws describe patterns in nature we can't see. So now I'm ready to place this card into my Zettelkasten. So my next step is to go to my index. But when I go to my index with this card, I find out I don't have anything that matches this card in my index. Well, if I think about it a little bit, and you may recall from the past videos in this series, that's not too surprising. My main box has a section on faith, it has a section on business, and it has a section on how the human mind works. But there's nothing about physics. Oh no, where am I going to place this card? It has nothing to attach to. That's exactly when you need a foundation card. When you have a new card that you want to add to your Zettelkasten, but it doesn't have anything that it goes with. Now I'm pretty flexible about things going with other things. I'm willing to go for a kind of a stretch, but this is really about physics. It doesn't have anything to do with faith, or business, or how the human mind works. It's clearly time for a new foundational area. So creating a new foundation card is a two-step process. The first step, I have to ponder. What larger whole is this book a part of? What's the new core area? And then, why are you studying this? What's your larger purpose? Well, the new core area is physics, and my purpose seems to be the reason I expressed on the bib card. I love quotes from Feynman, and I wonder what he might be able to teach me about physics. So now I'm ready to make my foundation card. I want to learn more about this core area, which is physics, so that, and my purpose. That's what goes in the top section of my foundation card. I want to learn more about physics because Richard Feynman makes it seem so interesting. And then next is my feelings or reaction. Physics is a big topic and it takes me far from my reading plan, but I'm deeply curious, so maybe for recreation. Then I want to put my source. A foundation card for me is almost always a personal reflection, so I would use r.pr and the date. And then the all-important tagline to go across the top. Richard Feynman makes physics fascinating. Okay, now where will I place this? I already have 3 different subject areas, the 1, 2, and 3, and this is a 4th subject area, so I know what its card number is. It's card number 4. And not only that, I also know what the card number is for the card I created from the book. It's going to choose this card for its parent, so it will just be 4A. Now all that's left is to underline the key words in the taglines and index these cards under each of the keywords using the entire tagline each time I reference it. For example, here in the letter P, I have both cards came under that. Richard Feynman makes physics fascinating. And my main note from my book, physical laws describe patterns in nature we can't see. But what's going on here with this pattern? Why is the whole word underlined? And what's that little arrow? Well, pattern had already been used 3 times, and so it was promoted to a card of its own. And so I need to also add this tagline to the pattern card, because physical laws describe patterns in nature we can't see. So now we have pattern language and pattern in nature. Isn't that interesting how these now, even though they didn't relate closely enough to add this card to pattern languages, they still get to hang around together on this pattern card. So that's why you need a foundation card sometimes. If you have a book that's on a topic that launches into a whole new field that you don't have in your Zettelkasten and you have no place to attach that card, then you can use a foundation card to give it a place. So when might you not need a foundation card? Well, if you've been following along in my series, you know I've been using this book by Dan Sullivan, The Gap and the Gain. It's about business goal setting. If my next book was Who Not How by Dan Sullivan, it's not about business goal setting. It's more about how you think about growing your business and accomplishing things and getting more done in your agenda, but it's still business related. So I probably wouldn't need a new foundation card for this one the way I did for this one that went off into a whole new subject field. Well, Judy, I hope that helps. And if I have not answered your question, please ask again, because that's my purpose in doing these videos is to help you have a functioning Zettelkasten. And that's not going to happen unless you get your questions answered. So don't just say, well, I tried, and go away. If I haven't answered your question yet, ask again. Thank you. Bye-bye.